Howdy and welcome to the Veikk S640 tablet OS and art review. If you're here for just the comparison to the XP Pen G640 or you're here for the TLDW, just skip to the timestamp on screen right now. If you're here just for the art review, go ahead and skip to the timestamp on screen now. With those out of the way, let's go ahead and begin. Bit of a disclaimer though, Veikk did send me this tablet for free, but it's not going to sway my opinion as they said they're open to criticism and I've got a couple things to criticize here. Anyway, starting off with the unboxing, and yeah, don't ask about the knife choice, I had to brutally beat this fucking seal until it actually opened. Anyway, everything is packed very neatly. The box contains the tablet itself, the pen with a velvet pouch for it, a manual, and 8 nibs. Draggers rejoice. The tablet has a dedicated cable, and while this isn't an inherent problem, it just begs the question as to why. Basically, every other tablet on the market has a removable cable. This helps mitigate potential tablet issues as this cheap bendy boy input thing right here is definitely going to be prone to breaking with enough pressure or force. Anyway, the cable itself is about 5 foot long, and while the included cable is probably more than fine for most people, some people will actually need a longer cable. This was actually just barely long enough for my own setup. But you know, since the cable's not removable, you can't actually change this. Anyway, the build quality is about the same as the XP Pen's G640, being made out of this hard plastic. And if I had to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being Veikk size keyboard and 1 being a floppy boy, I would put this at a 7. Anyway, moving on to the actual play area itself, it uses a 6x4 inch active play area, the exact same as the XP Pen's G640. This is more than enough for OS, but for art I did find some issues with this. Onto the pen, I must say that this is probably the best tablet pen I've ever held. It's very sturdy and made very well. It also suffers from the same slipping experience as every other tablet pen out there, but there's honestly no getting around that. The buttons are very firm and feel a lot nicer than even Wacom pens. The pen also, as I said before, comes with this velvet pouch for your pen, and overall is a great unboxing experience. Alright, moving on to the driver installation. Drivers installed very smoothly, and after a restart I was able to begin editing things. Although the driver UI and stuff isn't that bad, the smoothing is terrible. Honestly, this tablet has the most smoothing I've ever seen on a budget tablet. It's kinda nutty. Anyway, if you're unfamiliar with what smoothing is, smoothing stabilizes the cursor by recorrecting its position every few milliseconds, and some drivers actually try to predict which way you're gonna go, which is no bueno. Anyway, with no smoothing, the cursor has what's called noise, or layman term, it would be to vibrate. Smoothing eliminates this at the cost of some latency, making the cursor appear to be slower and kind of react slower than it would without any smoothing. Anyway, when I did uninstall the drivers and I played with the community Haku drivers with the exact same play area, the difference was night and day. So definitely when you get this tablet, if you're not going to be drawing with it, go straight for the Haku drivers and don't look back. Gameplay is as you would expect coming from a tablet in 2019. It's pretty damn good, especially for its $20 price point. Personally, I prefer the pen on this tablet as opposed to any other tablet I've ever used, and the pen itself is a pretty good size, enough for my gorilla hands to endure. I have a really bad problem with my older Wacom tablets pens, and the XP Pen G640's pen, it's just way too small for me. I've also noticed that the pen doesn't get really sweaty while I play, but it still slips. This is something that I had a problem with the XP Pen. This is something I've come to expect though, and I honestly have found no way to fix it. And actually, while we're still talking about the pen, this tablet still suffers from the same issue as the G640. If you hold both of the pen buttons down at the same time, the cursor freezes and won't move until you let go of the buttons. This doesn't happen that much when I drag, but if I hover, it happens basically every time, and I ran into this problem so many fucking times doing art, it made me fucking pissed off. Anyway, so that's just something to keep in mind, that if you do hover and you press both the buttons down, the cursor's gonna freeze, it's gonna fuck your play up. But also remember that the G640 does this, and it's kind of unavoidable unless you take out the tablet buttons itself. Anyway, as far as a performance comparison, I would say it's about on par with the G640, as nothing really stands out over the G640. It performs well and overall is a great tablet. Alright, so for the TLDW, even though I try to make it as short as possible, the tablet is great for the price. The pen itself is one of the best tablet pens I've ever used and has great buttons. Buttons that, if held at the same time, actually will freeze the cursor while hovering. While the included drivers have a decent UI, I wouldn't recommend using them as they have way too much smoothing and kind of makes you feel like your cursor's on ice. As for performance, it performs great, with identical performance as the XP Pen G640, which is actually $5 more than this tablet. So, do I recommend the Veikk over the XP Pen? Well, no. But then again, I wouldn't recommend the XP Pen over the Veikk. They do some things better than the other, but they're basically the same performance-wise. They have identical specs across the board. Both of them suffer from the same holding two buttons on the pen freezes a cursor problem, but that's kind of where the similarities end. The Veikk has a far superior pen, and it actually has a decent size and a lot better build quality. This, I think, will be better for most people, as I don't think the majority of people have small hands. I think everyone's got average hands. I really don't know. Anyway, the XP Pen's pen feels, well, like a cheap plastic fork. Anyway, the XP Pen does use a removable cable, which I really like, and is far better for the longevity of the tablet, something that you don't have with the Veikk, as it's got a dedicated cable. All in all, kudos Veikk. Your tablet performs very good, and is priced, I think, very generously. Anyway, I think this is going to conclude the O side of the review, so if you don't want to watch the art side, just go ahead and click away. Thanks for watching anyway. Okay, so I want to preface this by saying that I am new to digital art. I've been doing digital art for about 3 months. The only tablet I've used for digital art up until this point has been the XP Pen G640, and let me just say that doing art on the G640 was kind of a pain, mainly because I couldn't feel pen pressure if I tried to shade with it. So I instead opted to switch my Photoshop palettes or colors to 32-bit, so that way I could use the built-in Photoshop color selector to go up and down shades of color and use the mixer brush to mix the shades in. And personally, this makes my art look really bad, I think, and it makes it look kind of blurry, and I really don't like this. And with the Veikk, you can actually feel the difference in pen pressure, and it's really good. I really love the feel of the pressure that you can put on the pen. It feels very nice. Also, I think that using the pen buttons is kind of counterintuitive. I don't know any situation where I can't have my other hand hovering over the keyboard and press E or press Alt or press Control T if I need to, or Control Z, you know. Also, I said this in my OS review, but if you hold the two pen buttons down at the same time while you're not touching the tablet, it will freeze your cursor up. I ran into this many times while trying to use my E tool to erase or use my Control T to start rotating and transforming. It was so frustrating to the point to where I actually grabbed a small knife and I just popped out the pen buttons because I didn't want to use them anymore. And even if you disable the pen buttons in the settings, it still does this. It's really frustrating. Overall, $25 isn't that much to spend for a drawing tablet, and for $25 this thing performs very good. Although there are a couple of issues like I mentioned before, the overall size I think is what's holding it back the most. I don't know anyone that would ever say 6x4 inches is enough to draw a full resolution, especially if you paint like I do. You paint kind of environments where you're painting on bigger canvases. You won't necessarily ever find something big enough for the full resolution, maybe other than a Cintiq, but this definitely isn't that bad. I mean, I'm going to be zooming in to do details anyway, so, you know, I guess that what I'm trying to say is if you have a problem with this tablet, you buy it at your first tablet, and you find that you don't like zooming in to do art, upgrade it in the future. If you're happy with it, then stay with it. Because personally, I don't think I'll ever upgrade. This does everything that I need it to do, and I don't need a super big tablet area. I am just fine zooming in to do details because I like to detail like that anyway. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like. You can check out my DeviantArt if you want to see some of my art down below. I'm actually a game design student, so you'll also start to see some of my game design stuff pop up there, especially if I turn out to get like an internship or something. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.